Anthony Pierlioni.
Thank you. First of all, no one gets my last name right, so that was incredible. That was perfect. Thanks, everyone. I can't tell you how amazing it is to be here with you. You know, sometimes you just go and try something out, and it just feels right. And like I've been busy leading up to this and everything and trying to prepare everything, but I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to come here, and I'm so privileged and honored and proud to just be a part, even if I'm kind of like on the outskirts of your community a little bit. But part of the reason why it's so important for me to come here is because we are partners in this larger collective that's trying to make the world a better place for turtles, these animals that we love so much, right? So I'm here to try to bridge that gap, and I want each one of you to know before I forget, like ADD and who knows what I'll say, and I'll come up here with a plan and then only execute 40% of it, but that 40% is usually really good. I just want you to know that I am your teammate, I am your partner, I'm available to all of you, I'm so happy to help with anything I can, and my experience and expertise is a little bit different than your average rehabber would be. I'm not a rehabber, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I do, and you think about how that might be of use in the future, and if something pops up, just know that I'm available to you, and I'd love to help. So I added this little piece here on the bottom. It'd be helpful if I turn this on. Look at that, the laser's green for turtles. Don't be jealous, okay. I added this little piece here. So the CT Turtle Society is new. We didn't exist a couple months ago, and we've had a few meetings, and it's been going really, really well. And you might be interested to know that we meet in Enfield, Connecticut, which is just over the border of a town called Springfield, which is part of a state that you may have heard of, or a commonwealth. I don't know, I don't understand how that works. You guys can let me know some other time. So anywho, just calling that out, we do have a meeting tomorrow at Riverside Reptiles Education Center in Enfield, Connecticut, for the Connecticut Turtle Society. Anywho, so who am I? I love turtles. I'm known best, I think, for hatching and breeding some of the world's rarest turtle species. But please don't put me into that box. Please don't, because that's not who I am. I'll talk more about that later with a little more context. What does the Turtle Room do? Well, the Turtle Room does have captive assurance colonies for some of the world's rarest species. And I don't mean world's rarest turtle species, I mean rarest species. And we'll get to that. I have a fun little activity to kick this off. But we also do a lot of educational talks and things like that and build educational resources. One of my favorite things to do is what I'm doing right now. I love to travel around all over the country, sometimes even internationally, to talk about turtles. It's my favorite thing. I was that 5-year-old in the creeks and in the ponds and the swamps, and I never grew out of it. What's wrong with me? It's so nice to be in a room where I feel like people get that a little bit more. Anywho. So we also do a lot of in situ conservation work, and that's actually, boots on the ground, in the habitat, trying to conserve species so that they don't become more endangered or eventually, dare I say, extinct in the wild. So you'll notice a couple of these species here. Yell it out. What are these?
Diamondback terrapins.
Diamondback terrapins, that's right. That's right. Malaclemys terrapin would be the northern, and that's what these are. We have a project in New Jersey in partnership with Garden State Tortoise. And then also we have a project with this species. What's that?
North American wood turtle.
North American wood turtle, Glyptemes insculpta. My wife would be rolling her eyes if she were here right now. She hates when I use scientific terms. Like, oh God, you sound so pompous. Like, yeah, but I mispronounce them half the time. It's okay. It's all right. So we do a lot of in situ stuff. And I do a lot of writing. You guys already saw that over there. So that's just kind of my thing now. I don't know how I fell into that, but it happened, and here we are. So that keeps going. Okay, this was supposed to be a video, but I can't get it to play, and it's okay. It's plugging my new YouTube channel. It's my way to say to you that if you're interested in turtle stuff, please check it out, and it would be really inspiring if it played, but here we are. So there's the QR code if you want to go there and subscribe to that channel. That's I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I don't know that that's totally necessary. I see phones that are up right now, which means so much to me. So I basically just travel around the country and do turtle-related things because that's all I ever wanted to do as a 5-year-old, and I never grew up. So here we are. All right, so I want to play a game called How Many Are There? You ready? Let's do this. Even if you're not ready, it's happening. It's happening. How many are there? Okay, let's start with humans. Why do you start with humans? Too many, correct. Correct. That is the numeric equation for too many. 8.2 billion. That's a lot of zeros. Yikes. Okay, before I throw up, let's go to the next one. Giraffes. How many giraffes are there? 25,000 giraffes. 117. Okay, all right. We can work with that number. That's a big animal. It's megafauna. Okay. How about elephants?
40,000.
Okay. Oh, now Asian elephants, 40,000. Okay, all right, we're moving through. How about gorillas? 12,000 gorillas. Now you have 5,000 eastern gorillas, but there's some gorillas. And this is numbers for in the wild, by the way. Okay. How about lions? 12,000. It's not fun to keep yelling out the numbers. I appreciate you being a good sport. Like, okay, we get it. You're going to make us yell numbers and we don't really know the answer. So 20 to 39K. Now, when you look at rhinos, rhinos is broken up. There's a lot of species within these. There's a lot of different species of giraffes and all that sort of stuff too. So you have to forgive me. I'm not a giraffe expert. It may look like I know some giraffes, but... So you have these different species, and there are some that where you're looking at only dozens in the wild, right? That's crazy. Are turtles that rare? Some of them. Okay, hold on. Don't get ahead of me now. I'm just kidding. I asked the question. I asked the question. I know. Tigers. I picked a white tiger. 4,500 tigers. And what's interesting, there's probably that many or even more in captivity in Texas alone. Okay? Okay. Now, tigers, I don't know if they should. Okay, that's a different. I don't know. Ask Joe Exotic what he thinks. Okay, pandas. I want you to guess this one. How many pandas are there? This is an icon of animal rarity. 2,000? It's a pretty good guess. 1,850, and another 300 in captivity. Okay? And we're working really hard, and we're spending millions and millions of dollars to conserve pandas. And this is a really good kind of moral compass type of question, just the existence of the panda. Should we put the money and effort into conserving this species when it can go a lot further with other species and even whole ecosystems, right? I'm not saying what the answer is, I'm just saying that that's sometimes a little bit of debate team when we're talking about conservation. Okay, how about McCord's box turtle? How many of those are there in the wild? 400?
None.
100?
Zero.
Zero. There are 0 McCord's box turtles in the wild. I have one on that table right there. And it's rare in captivity too, so it's not one of these things that's all over captivity. It's a really, really rare species. And I'm going to get back to this, so just hold that thought. McCord's box turtle, okay? Hold that thought. I want to tell you a story first. I want to tell you the story of, because we want to talk about how turtles are rare, right? That is a poster child for turtle rarity, 0. So let's talk about how they're rare. And I want to just tell you about a trip that I took last year. Actually, it was the beginning of April last year. Actually, a year ago today, I was in Arizona on this trip. And the trip took, and it's on the current cover of it's on the cover of the current issue of Reptiles magazine. I can talk. And it's also my most recent book, which I had one copy of with me today. So whoever got that, congratulations. I was a little short, and my other ones didn't come in time. Anyway, basically, it's me detailing my trip that I took in 8 days from Jacksonville, Florida, all the way across, following Route 10, but not on Route 10, because you don't find turtles on interstates. I mean, hopefully we don't. They don't usually, populations aren't usually strong right there, all the way across the country anyway. And all the way to Los Angeles, okay? But it was a little bit of a cannonball run situation because I had to make it to LA in time to fly home or my wife would probably divorce me, right? Anyway, if you want to know more about that dynamic, the book Turtly Devoted covers that my wife and I wrote together. And it's basically my love for turtles and her putting up with me, or at least trying her best to put up with me. So anywho, we found a lot of really cool things, a lot of cool experiences on this cross-country trip. That's Baba Yaga. What species is that?
Alligator.
That's an alligator snapping turtle, absolutely, but it's not your normal one. It's a new species that was described in 2014. It's the Suwannee alligator snapping turtle. Macrocheles suwanneensis. Anywho, yeah. I was catching no turtles that day and then found Baba Yaga and felt like I was king of the world. And then they told me that she's blind. I know, she's really old. She's like 100 years old. Okay, so we get to Alabama and we find this turtle. Anyone want to guess that species? That's a rare species. That's the intermediate musk turtle, described in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool, right? We're finding all these turtles. We're kicking butt in the eastern part of the U.S. We get to Louisiana, and we see all of these man-made swampy areas. And that's when we start seeing the red-eared sliders, which was so cool because we expected to see red-eared sliders everywhere. But we actually saw them within range. This is within their range, so that was cool. I hadn't seen one in their range before. And then we get to Texas. And this theme is starting, right? We have these like man-made, nasty, swampy areas for hunting crayfish, trapping crayfish. And then we see Texas with its beautiful oil derricks and flaming smokestacks. And we start to realize, I'll get to that turtle in a second, but we start to realize that every square inch of habitat that we have looked at across the entire country has been altered by humans. Even the national forest in Apalachicola in the Florida Panhandle, those trees are cut down for logging, right? Everywhere across the entire country. It's insane. Now we did keep seeing turtles because turtles can adapt. They do find a way. Any guesses?
Western
This is a box turtle, not an eastern box though. Ornate box turtle, yes. Ornate box turtle in Texas. Speaking of Texas, this is Buffalo Bayou, the place in the U.S. that has the most dead bodies in it. Yeah, so that's where we were looking for turtles. Anywho, just to go with the theme, we get to Arizona, everything's altered, although this was a really cool spot with a lot of those cacti and things. And then we end the trip in California. Now, has anyone here seen Terminator 2 Judgment Day? I love that. I was so confident, like, yup, love it. I aspire to be like Sarah Connor one day. In that movie, famously, Arnold Schwarzenegger is on a motorcycle with young John Connor on the back, and he's trying to escape T-1000, the bad guy who's in a big truck, and they're on a concrete culvert, right? You know the scene? And they're like going through and everything. So this is a concrete culvert in LA, where, you know, everything was filmed, including Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And all this nasty green sludge from like people washing their car, because there's no water in LA, right? Is coming out this like one waterway and going into this man-made brackish environment where salt and fresh water mixes. And I found the two most unexpected turtle species cohabiting there. I want to make you guess, but you're like not going to guess totally. Green sea turtles is correct. That is one of the species. Who can guess the other? Common snapper, no. Red-eared sliders, correct. And they're here with these are all shopping carts. So we've got about 35 green sea turtles in the water swimming around with red-eared sliders. I literally would not believe you if you told me this happened. I would just say you're full of it, you're wrong, that can't happen. But it definitely happened. Now I don't have a picture of them together because it's really hard. Sea turtles, I'm not a sea turtle guy because there's too many pond turtles and tortoises that need help. And sea turtles are kind of like sexy and get a lot of attention. I'm sorry if you love sea turtles. I'm so sorry. Don't hate me. I'm here to work together. Okay? Right? It's true. Yeah. Everyone's, oh, wow, that's awesome. We just paid someone like a few bucks to make like a website to go along with our YouTube. And I gave him 30 pretty high quality photos, I thought. I was feeling real good about myself. And then he sent it back to us, and he took the liberty of putting a sea turtle as the main photo. I'm like, no, that's not who I am. I've seen a sea turtle, that's not who I am though. Anyway, there's the green sea turtle, horrible photo. But I never knew, like they kind of come up for a gasp and go right down, and they stay down for 5 seconds, and then they come up for a gasp. Totally different behavior than what I'm used to, you know, stalking in the wild. Anyway. So my experiences on that trip, before I get to this fellow, my experiences on that trip, as I mentioned, holy crap, what have we done to the landscape across this entire country? That is a huge stressor on these animals that we care about. All right? Now I wanted to talk about this guy. Who is that? Darwin. That's Darwin. Perfect. You guys are good. Yeah. And why the birds? I'm a turtle guy. Why the birds? The beaks. They're the finches from the different islands. Exactly, exactly. Now, were those finches important for his scientific discovery? Yes, totally important. Are those finches important in general, do you think? Yes, I agree. Are those finches important enough to be displayed at a zoo? Why? I saw some no's. The answer is, the thing to consider is these animals that we care a lot about. Now a lot of these native turtles that you guys are working with, they're probably represented in zoos and things like that because they're natives and you know we could educate people about the animals that are in their backyard. But these finches, they're from the Galapagos Islands and they all look the same except like some small little changes, right? These are not the megafauna that you saw in my How Many Are There activity that are going to bring butts through the turnstiles and make people care and bring them in to see them at the zoo, right? That's just the sad truth. And that's where we come in. Because for all those little turtle species from throughout the world that nobody knows exists, that's what we're trying to help any way we can, through education, through captive breeding, and through setting up actual projects in the wild. I showed you our projects in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We also have projects in Africa and Vietnam as well. So we're trying to attack this from all levels, which I don't know if that's the right strategy or not, but we're doing the best we can. So here we are. So some of these rarest species in the world are hatching in Connecticut, which is where I'm from. Anyhow, how the heck do I do that, you might ask? Well, this is a greenhouse, and I thought this might be useful just in case anyone was interested. I didn't use a kit. I built this greenhouse from like a wooden frame that I designed by myself. YouTube can really help. And I didn't copy anyone either. I kind of took like information from this book and then this video and that video and just tried to do the best I could. I have some pretty, I wouldn't say tropical, but they're not like totally temperate species that are surviving in the greenhouse now, which obviously is great. Okay. So, as we talk about the importance of breeding species in captivity, some of these non-natives, I just wanted to quickly share this story. I don't expect anyone in here to know this species. This is Cebenrachiella latensis, the, Palawan forest turtle, which they don't really live in forests. They're not a forest turtle. They live in holes in the bank, in the riverbank. And we didn't know that. And the estimate for how many of these turtles there were in the world was between 1 and 4,000. Very, very rare turtle. And this picture is from a confiscation where 3,800 were confiscated at one time. I just got chills as I said that. Seriously, 3,800 of a species that we thought there were 1,000 to 4,000. So somebody figured out how to find them and they were gone. Insane. That is the importance of what we're trying to do, okay? Now, this is all gonna come together at the end, I promise, okay? I'm not just telling you about things. It's all gonna come together at the end. Remember what we said about the box turtle? Those captive hatch babies, that's a species that's extinct in the wild, right? So that helps. But as we take this a step further and start to think about how this actually impacts us here in the Northeast, in Connecticut, in Massachusetts, in New York, in Vermont, in New Hampshire, and I know you guys came from a lot of states, which is awesome. Let's talk about how that impacts us. What species are those? What species? I think there's 2 species there, actually. No? What was the guess here? No? These are box turtles. These are box turtles from Mexico. Right now in Asia, box turtles from North America are extremely sexy right now. They are doing anything they can to get these box turtles. And if you decide that with your rehab work, you're going to make some videos educating people about the box turtles that you're helping with, you're going to start to get people sliding in your DMs asking if you export turtles. That's the reality right now. So these are Mexican box turtles, Terrapene mexicana, which is the same genus as our eastern box turtles here in the Northeast. Okay, and I think I also see parts of some Yucatan box turtles, Terrapene yucatana. Okay? There we go. That was just supposed to be me asking, what's related. That would be the eastern box turtle. I took this picture in New Jersey, and it looks like I took it a long time ago because that's an old truck, but it was only like 5 years ago. But I laid down. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. Like, here's this 400-pound guy laying down, like with my chin on the asphalt, trying to get this picture while he's driving up. I don't care. Try to stop me. Try to stop. I'd rather get run over than not do it. Anywho. And then there's this picture. This is myself, and then he's now my editor for my YouTube channel. This is Chris Leone's wife, Casey, who runs that Diamondback Terrapin work. Chris Leone's Garden State Tortoise, really popular YouTube channel, probably the most popular turtle YouTuber in the world, probably. And then my friend Kevin, who is a biologist in Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. So what are we doing? What type of turtles are these? Yeah, they're box turtles. These are three-toads. Yeah, three-toads, which are sometimes considered a subspecies of the eastern, sometimes a subspecies of the Mexican too. Depends on what papers you read. Box turtle nomenclature is all messed up. But these are three-toads, but there were a lot of easterns in this group of turtles. Why are we playing with these turtles? Well, this was a confiscation of 77 box turtles that were intercepted at LAX, and we got them back to New Jersey here, and we're processing them just to basically hopefully give them a second chance at life. These confiscations are really sad. The animals don't always do well because they've moved through all these middlemen on their way to LAX to then go to Asia and go through a bunch of other middlemen. The point is, they're coming for our turtles right now. So be diligent, be wary. Please don't ever or let anyone think a couple bucks is better than the life of these animals. I know that this crowd is not that, but they, whoever they are among us. So that's the other thing to remember too, is that there could be a person in this room who ends up making a bad decision that impacts the lives of these poor creatures that we're here trying to help, that we love, that we say we love. So that's the main message and takeaway there. I showed those Mexican box turtles. I have a group of Mexican box turtles at my home right now that are struggling, that were confiscation as well, that are really struggling. And, taking them to the vet again and again, it's kind of like these animals that you find, they're hit by cars. It can be a really long road, and there's a lot of heartbreak, and it's just so sad because it's all caused by human nonsense, Anyway. Okay, so now I have a live animal meet and greet. I'm going faster than I wanted to, which is okay. I was open to that. So I brought 4 turtles for you to meet. I have one native. I want to let you decide. So I have one native, I have 2 from China, and I have 1 from Madagascar. Where would you like to visit first? Madagascar. Wow, awesome. Well, that was easy. Okay, so the one we're going to see from Madagascar, just so you know what we're looking at, okay, this turtle right here, this is the spider tortoise, okay? Now, when I first started working with spider tortoises, those animals came from the Knoxville Zoo, which is now called Zoo Knoxville, but at the time, that's how old I am, it was called the Knoxville Zoo. They are critically endangered, and there's a good chance that they will go extinct within the next generation. Now this is not going to be the most amazing thing because it's small, but this is a captive hatch baby that I hatched. Yeah, if anyone wants to come closer, that's totally fine. Now there are two species in the Pyxis genus. Okay, there's a flat-tailed tortoise, and then there's this spider tortoise. And this spider tortoise, I'll come around. I'm not going to stay here the whole time. I'll come around. This spider tortoise has 3 different subspecies, one of which does not have a hinge. The other 2 do. They have a plastral hinge like a box turtle, even though it's a tortoise. They have a plastral hinge right here, the same spot, separating the anterior lobe from the posterior lobe. Okay? This one does not have that hinge. How could you be the same species and one subspecies has a hinge and one doesn't? I don't know. Maybe there's more science to be done there. Excuse me, Liam, I'm so sorry. No, it's okay, I'm not going to go any further than that.
How many of these are there in the world?
I don't know the exact number right now. I wish I could tell you.
Less than 100?
No, there's more. There's thousands. How many thousand? I couldn't tell you. But they're declining rapidly. So some people eat these, but now historically in Madagascar, these have been thought to be taboo. But folks in Madagascar don't really have a lot of money, many folks in Madagascar. So if you could feed your family by collecting a couple of tortoises that just walk across your property or through your town, you kind of have to have a little bit of empathy for that. But these get poached, and then most of the time they're not being eaten, they're entering into the illegal wildlife trade. But I also just want to say that not all of the wildlife trade is illegal, and there are people that breed this species in captivity legally, more so than zoos do. So just something to consider. This is a year old. This is actually really, this has done a lot of growing. I hatched one last week, and I did a video, like a YouTube short with this next to a fresh hatchling, and this thing is like a complete monster. It's so big. I know, it's ridiculous. Anyhow, they're pretty cool. Right? Monstrito. My little monster. You know, when you see ones that are this little and this cute, you start to understand the 4-inch law and how people in the 70s were putting turtles in their mouths. Right? Oh gosh. All right, where are we going next, yo? China, or are we going to China next or New Bedford? Which one? New Bedford. I went to college in Providence. I had a lot of friends from New Bedford. All right, well, we got to go to China next because we have 2 animals from China. Okay, if you went over and saw my books, you would have seen the leaf turtle book. So you see there the turtle with the oogly eyes. You see that? That's Mojo. Mojo is probably the 2nd most prolific leaf turtle in the United States. Only rivaled by his rival, Wang, who's another turtle in our care. And they really, I think we have 9 males, and really only 2 of them are just all about the ladies. It's breeding season, so Mojo and Wang are at home resting because they've been very busy this season. However, this is BJ. I didn't name him, okay? And he is not the best with the ladies, and that is why he can come here and say hello today. But you'll notice he's a very pretty turtle. He's got kind of orange and yellow, and he has those beautiful white eyes. Now, generally for this species, those white eyes are reserved for the males. There are some females that have white irises, though, and sometimes you have males that have dark irises, but generally males of this species have that telltale white iris. Isn't that amazing? This is a Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtle. They live in Vietnam and China. This is a full-grown adult. Yeah, full-grown adult. And the females don't get much larger. You know, a couple grams heavier, you know, larger technically, but they're just small turtles.
And are the Chinese eating those turtles?
Are the Chinese eating these turtles? Yes.
There's not much to eat, is there?
Yeah, well, these are not. You grab about a dozen of these and you make yourself a nice little stew. Yeah. Now, what's that? Oh my gosh, what a great question. The question is, how big is their eggs? How big are their eggs? Their eggs are huge. So that's the thing. Our North American species lay a lot of small eggs. With these, the Asian species lay hard-shelled, very large eggs. So this species generally lays one egg at a time, and it takes up a huge portion of their body. A huge egg, a huge single egg. Now, the record for this species for eggs in a clutch was actually in my basement. There was a 4-egg clutch, but generally they lay 1, maybe 2 eggs. I'll come over here.
What's the name of the turtle again? Like what the is?
What's the name of the species? It's the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtle. They're named for that black belly that they have. Geoemyda stangleri. And this is the species that made me an author, because I was so into them. I reached out to my friend who is a publisher, and I really want to write that book. It's the small book that I have over there. And once I published that little book, it was like, okay, I really love the feeling of this. And then more came after that. I know, he was so active, and now he's like, okay, I'm done. The big gorilla has a microphone now, and it's scarier than usual. Right? They're so cool. So this species is about $3 in China, and by the time it gets here, it's about $1,500. So this species is actually still being smuggled into the U.S. because people try to make a quick buck. So you may be against breeding of turtles, but even in the pet trade, it does help curb the demand for species. However, I love to play devil's advocate. However, when you're breeding a species, it also helps create channels that make it look like it's not, that it's captive bred when it's actually not. So complicated. And I use this as an example all the time. I think, I was mentioning with my friends over here from the veterinary world. What's up, guys? That what the heck was I going to say? I had a whole thought. ADD. Squirrel. Yeah, I was mentioning. Dang, that's the piece that I forgot. That's because I was trying to find you guys. Dang. Okay, what I was going to say, and there was going to be a whole eloquent connection, and that's what's gone. But I can still say. That's what it was. I've bred more of these. So there are 19 zoos, and me. That makes up the SSP, the Species Survival Program. When you go to the zoo and you see the little icon with the baby rhino, with the mother rhino, and it says SSP, that means all the zoos work together to try to hatch these animals. 19 zoos and me for this species, okay? And, isn't that cool, right? That's the black breast. Very popular. So, I'll breed them every year. But has my effort actually helped the species? The answer is, I don't know. Because writing the book and then making videos and doing talks, this is a very popular species in herpetoculture. There are a lot of this is like a crossover species. You can keep it like a gecko in a planted terrarium. People love these. Have I actually helped them by making them more sought after? But when you're making them more sought after, you're also raising awareness. And we're sending money to Vietnam. So there's a lot of good, but it's not all good. It's complicated. Anyway. Okay. All right, we're going to go to New Bedford next. We're going to go to Swansea, Mass. next. You can tell I went to school in Providence. We've got all the eastern Massachusetts towns that aren't on the Cape. It's tough finding your size sometimes. Jesus. God. Okay. Right into the microphone. All right, you're for last. This is probably going to be like the coolest one that you see. So I'm saving one for last because it's the McCord's box turtle and it's the rarest turtle you might ever see. But I want to introduce you to this guy. He may or may not try to bite me. He's a little dirty. He lives in my greenhouse. And it is what it is. But this is a common snapping turtle. I know. Don't get too excited. I see those all the time, bruh. But not like this. This is an albino common snapping turtle. Now, it's not going to look as sexy as it sometimes does because it's covered in mud, so you have to look past that. It has red eyes, and if I clean this with a toothbrush, which he doesn't want that, I don't want that, so you're going to have to deal with that. Sorry. You have to look past the brown staining and yuckiness. Okay. So he's albino, and he will bite. He's super angry. This is not a tame snapping turtle. I like my turtles to hate me, and he certainly does. Yeah, so if the light hits right, you might be able to see, but he is legitimately albino. He has pink eyes. Don't go too close, but you know how to handle snappers. You're good.
I do.
You know what you're doing.
Look at it.
Yeah?
Been bit many times.
I don't think I've been bitten by a snapping turtle.
You're not lucky then. I'm just kidding.
I know. I should. It will happen.
It hurts.
It almost happened this morning.
Start kissing him though.
Yeah, I don't want it.
No, I don't.
He doesn't want that. I don't want that. Yeah, no, this isn't a turtle I bought or anything like that. It was a turtle that needed a home, and I'm like, hey, I do tons of educational stuff. So all of my turtles have a job, and that is to make baby turtles for 99.9% of them. This guy is an exception because I'm not trying to breed even albino snapping turtles. There's no point in doing that for me.
And then what do you do with them after you breed them and they're born?
Well, great question. What do I do with turtles after I breed them after they're born? Am I just collecting turtles like Pokemon, gotta catch them all? No. So I am working with zoos. Just this week I sent a turtle that I hatched to the Sedgwick County Zoo in Kansas. So my goal is to try to send turtles where I can. I turn that off.
You hand deliver the turtle.
No, we ship them. We ship turtles. I had to get a better grip. You're starting to. I'm going to touch the microphone now. You guys mind? I feel like this is the crowd to be like, you know what? Go with it. I touched the turtle and then the microphone. This turtle does live by itself. It's probably pretty clean. I mean, by turtles go, you know, with the exception of them. Yeah, oh, it's a boy. Oh, yeah. It's a boy! Gender reveal. I mean, I already knew. He gets angry in the same way every time. He shows it in a loving way. I remember the New England Herp Society, which is headquartered here in Massachusetts, had a picture of some sort of, it wasn't a regular albino snapping turtle, but it was some sort of variation of that, caramel or something, on their website years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and it like changed my life. Like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine seeing an albino snapping turtle one day. It's just cool, you know, it's like a childhood love. This is a species I was obsessed with when I was 6, 7 years old. And it's cool to see him in the albino form. Okay, I'm so sorry. I know this is a very small container. Just trying to keep him secure. And be pissed at me for a second and then happy that I'm no longer holding him. Okay, any questions on that or anything? Yeah. Yes to both. Yep. Yes to both. So, they are selectively bred for that because people will pay big bucks for them. I don't care. I mean, I would take one for free to show to people because people get excited, right? It was cool to see. Okay. Wow, that's incredible. Wow, isn't that amazing? That's what happens. So sometimes they just pop up, and then greedy breeders want to get their hands on them so they can selectively breed them, or they come out of like places where people are farming them. I don't think you see a lot of common snapping turtles for sale. I don't think people are breeding them very much. I think people are both like full of it, and they're going out and collecting nets because they're easy to spot. And they're easy to hatch, and the next thing you know, whatever reptile breeders on Morph Market selling a bunch of baby snapping turtles. Yeah?
Is albinism a trait that you've seen in other species that you've bred?
Yeah, albinism is very common across, all animals, but there are a lot of different albino turtle species out there. Yeah. And they're pretty highly sought after too. So this is my last friend. This is a McCord's box turtle, the species we talked about. So this is a species that I hatched now. This is extinct in the wild. There hasn't been one found in China in 15 years. They weren't described until a couple decades ago. By that time, they were already rare. What's crazy about this is they were common in the 70s. Farmers reported that they were so thick on the ground, to use Steve Irwin's old term, that they would pick them up and throw them at their cows. Because that's how you tend to your cows. I don't know. So many questions about that, but I swear to God, that is published. That is published. I did not make that up. And this species is named after Bill McCord, who's a very close friend of mine. He's a veterinarian from New York. And he discovered a bunch of species. Now, he did not discover this. This is not how that works. If you're a scientific taxonomic leader like these people that do this, you name species after your friends. So he named species after someone, and then they named this species after him. But I think the year was 1988 that this species was described. There was a book, I was mentioning it to someone over here today, I'll just mention it now because it kind of connects, but in the 1960s and 70s, as recently as the 70s, there was a book on zoology that was used to teach budding zoologists, and it basically compared turtles to cockroaches. Turtles are so commonplace, they've been around forever. Turtles have existed on this earth in this form for 200 million years. How long ago did T-Rex live? 65 million years, right? Stegosaurus was like 200 years old. That's how old these things are. So anyway, this book says they've existed since the most primitive dinosaurs. They will continue to exist long after we're gone. And we know that's not true. And this species is a poster child. Common in the 70s, completely gone only 4 decades later. And hasn't been seen, obviously, now for 15 more years, which brings us back to 1970. This guy's name is Handsome, and he's captive bred, and he's also a young father.
How would you describe this guy's personality?
Oh, what a cool question. How would you describe this guy's personality and behavior? Okay, don't judge me. I have a turtle farm, okay? I've literally bought my house for the turtles. I have about at least 50 species. I had never interacted with these until I got my first ones. Anyway, this is my favorite turtle species. They are so active, they talk to each other. If you look at any of our YouTube videos, there's a clip of the male talking to the female. He's like, yo baby, yo baby. He doesn't really say that, he says nothing, but they do this, and sometimes they'll do it back. He's not gonna do it right now, that would be too perfect, but like sometimes they'll do it to my finger. I'll come up and be like, hey. And you're like, but like it's like lizard behavior in a turtle. It's really cool. So their behavior is second to none. And they're a close relative of the Chinese box turtle, which is a little bit, and you'll notice the coloration is similar. Yellow skin with the post-orbital markings that come back from the eye. Very similar to a Chinese box turtle, and also with the brown mahogany shell. But this is a box turtle just like ours. It has a hinge right here that separates the anterior lobe from the posterior lobe. And they can close up all the way, even though he's not looking like he can close up all the way. He really can. Anyway, all right, so that's my last friend. What questions can I answer? Oh my gosh, there's hands. Okay. Right here.
Is it more important to be focusing on like the breeding side or more on the conservation side?
Is it more important to focus on the breeding side or the conservation side? My answer to that is, that's an incredible question that keeps me up at night. My answer is neither. I think education is the most important piece. That until we can get humans to give a crap about this, then we're preaching to the choir and, we're not really gonna make a huge difference most of the time. So in terms of the other two, they're tied for second, and I don't really know which one. It depends. Every situation is different. So when you get to the point where there's none left, you're like, man, has anyone been breeding these anywhere in the world? But when there's a few thousand left, you're like, oh, I can't believe you have that in captivity. You're a jerk. So there's a line there where, you know, if we're doing everything on the up and up and we're responsible, it could be really helpful and positive. Here, and then we'll go back. I'll work my way across.
So I've been involved in a few sting operations for Blandings turtles, and
Awesome.
I know the trajectory for getting that turtle out of that care and back to the state herpetologist and then safe. But what if we find out about exotics like this that are being kept illegally? What is the chain for us to pursue their freedom and safety?
That's a great question. Massachusetts has some laws about keeping exotics. It's definitely not a very exotics keeping friendly state. So the question was, what do we do if we know if someone was keeping something they shouldn't, or if somebody is selling something they shouldn't, that sort of thing? If you know the state herpetologist, there you go. I think just escalating what you're seeing, because a lot of times it starts with just an awareness, in my experience. Like, okay, this person I think is doing some shady stuff, and you let somebody know, and then it's kind of out of your hands. And a lot of times that leads to something. That's how it works. And these people are kind of desperate for a quick buck, and they start to see animals as dollar signs. And again, sometimes those are people that have good standing in our community. I've seen it before where there's people that are doing a good thing. There was a keeper from the Oklahoma City Zoo who was in Madagascar when the radiated tortoises were confiscated, and he went to help. He was part of the TSA, the Turtle Survival Alliance. It was this huge thing, and it was all great, and we talked about having him on our podcast to celebrate what he was doing. He was arrested a couple of years after that for stealing Galapagos tortoise eggs from the zoo and then hatching the babies and selling them. But the thing about that is, see, this is where the moral piece, I feel like this could be like a college course, you know? The zoo was destroying the eggs. Now, he was benefiting from that, but that's a really rare species that when I see eggs destroyed, I get sad, because nothing makes me happier on a personal level. I'm not saying it's right, but nothing makes me happier than seeing a turtle hatch out of an egg. That is like my idea of heaven. So it's just complicated. The more I learn, the less I know. Yeah, in terms of like definitive. Yeah. You have a question next?
So for a species like cords or any of these rare species, the goal is it to repopulate their habitat, and how? I know it's complicated.
Yeah, it is. No, you can post the pictures. Be careful about where. Don't ever share any locality information ever, and then just be careful. When somebody's just reaching out, that's something you can report. Hey, friend, do you have any box turtle for sale? Singular. Odd wording. Any other questions? Sure. Here.
So you mentioned earlier that there's sometimes more legal captive breeding in the wildlife trade than in zoos. Is there an explanation for that?
Yeah, there is. So the question is, why am I talking about more breeding in the private side than the zoo side? So a lot of times it just comes down to priority. So there are a couple of turtle outfits that do captive breeding, the Baylor Center in Ojai, California, the Turtle Survival Alliance in South Carolina, but it's hard, and they need things a lot of times. Really every single one of these species, so like if you're rehabbing, we talked about keeping the room a steady temperature that's going to be healthy for those animals. If you're talking about breeding long term, like an eastern box turtle needs to cool to breed. Now it might breed without cooling for a year, but it's not going to continue to breed without going through that natural biological process. There are certain hormone cascades that happen within temperate reptiles when they are exposed to different environments. Changes in humidity, most importantly changes in temperature, changes in the photoperiod, and even seasonal differences in diet as well, like what's available to them. So all of that matters. And a lot of times a zoo that has to keep a Komodo dragon in this huge enclosure isn't worrying about their little leaf turtles cooling down, if that makes sense. They're going to just keep it warm because everything does well warm. But I ask, because it's complicated, I ask, do they all really do well? And that's one thing with my rehabber friends that I've discussed before. Just a question, not saying that this is the way it should be, but Getting cold as heck, I almost said the other one, but hell is not cold. Getting cold as heck is a natural part of the biological process for the species that we care about here in the Northeast. So just keep that in mind. Now there is a dangerous in between. You're getting them cold but not cold enough. You know, again, complicated, but anyway, that's why I think some of the places struggle. Question here?
In the cases that you mentioned of like the zoos destroying eggs, what logic or moral, ethical, financial would there be for them to do that as opposed to more of like what you're doing, like conservation-minded hatching?
Well, if I'm going to be real, why destroy the eggs? If I'm going to be real, the private side doesn't get a lot of respect, and we shouldn't. We're sloppy, gross. We're very closely aligned with the legal pet trade and all sorts of other things. So, and I say we. I'm not just that. That's what I said at the beginning. Like I'm not just a turtle keeper. So I think it's that. And then zoos only have so much space and time and energy to do things, and that goes both ways, both with taking those hatchlings and then also with trying to find a home for them. So why keep trying to breed these species when, you know, and it's, yeah, so it's a tough decision for them to make, but it doesn't usually make you feel really good. You know, they'll make a press release one year and then stop breeding it the next year. It's complicated. Did I mention it's complicated?
So you mentioned that for instance, the box turtles in New Jersey that went back for confiscated. Second chance life, what does that mean?
They never went to the wild. Yeah, so some of them are. Because of the situation now with what's happening with box turtles specifically, there's a lot of DNA that's being run from species all around. Well, I guess we're talking about box turtles, subspecies. So they're trying to figure out what that genome looks like all across, because normally science, like you grab a turtle over here and you grab a turtle over here, but there's all this, you know, blind spot all around. We have to know from everywhere, and then the more that we build that picture, we can start to test those species, those specimens that are actually intercepted, and maybe put them back in the wild as long as they're tested. Now, some states aren't willing to do that because the thought is, you know, something novel like our COVID is going to come along, and we're putting out some pathogen that we never even anticipated, something that we can't even test for yet because we don't know about it. That's the scary part. There's so much that goes into this. So it really is just looking, I guess the way I look at it with all that is, if the dodo bird could still be here right now, I say yes for the dodo bird. Now, we're talking about bringing them back with, you know, cloning, that's a different story. But I'm saying if we could have saved the dodo bird, I would have been for saving the dodo bird. Put them in a couple zoos and not let them go extinct, because they're going extinct because of us. If they're going extinct because of us, I think we should save them. Yes? It's a really, really good question, and I don't know. I think the short answer would probably be yes, but I don't know everything. Like, I haven't been involved on like a high level with kind of what like Fish and Wildlife wants to do with those decisions, so I'm not totally sure. But historically, they weren't being released, because if we don't know where it's from, we could be introducing an animal that's from 4 hours down the road, which is genetically a totally different animal, or is carrying some kind of thing or whatever, you know, whatever reason. So hopefully now that's something that we could do. And I think why not the Turtle Rescue League that is building such a great following and respect in the community and everything like that. And all the more reason for us to collaborate more too. Yeah. There were things I was seeing today where I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. We don't normally put it like that, like on our side, you know? It's interesting. Anyway. That's a conversation for another time. Yes?
I'm just thinking about all of this, like trees, or not trees, and then what? Where does it go? What is that? You know, obviously it sounds like it's very complicated. There's a wide range of breeders out there. And obviously some are probably doing better work than others. I guess like what comes up for me is like, if we're breeding turtles that have nowhere to go, they can't be released back to the wild for reasons about zoos don't want them, or zoos are going to destroy the eggs anyway. That doesn't really do a whole lot, except for some period of time when they're going to be for education. We need to have humans. I don't know, I don't prefer that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair point. So you have to forgive me. The way that I present things is always I like to play devil's advocate, and I like to be really honest about the reality of the situation, because otherwise, and most of the people in the captive side, like you can go to the conference for the captive care and breeding of turtles and tortoises. It's in Arizona every year. It's a really great conference. But when people get up and talk, it is like, no, this is the answer. It's nothing else. This is and I'm like, so, you know, I like to play devil's advocate a lot and be honest, because these are complicated things. But there were other pieces too, like where we talked about using aquarium fish with the animals that were head starting. I know head starting wasn't the term. I have no problem with that at all. But when we're looking at like from a biologist perspective, which are always looking and poking holes in everything, like we can't release it because this could be happening or whatever. It's like, well, that fish could be carrying something, and then it's going to go into the baby snapping turtles, and then it's going to go in the environment. And it seemed like, okay, come on, that's a little much, don't you think? Like we're making a difference here. Yes, but you know, there's stuff that we could, you know, we need to bleach our shoes before we even go into a lot of environments now because of things that are being spread around by biologists and well-meaning people. So that's my point, is like, I can't BS you. I can't. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So I have to give you both sides of all of that stuff. And again, that's not me saying that that's wrong using the fish, but it's just complicated. Can someone make a meme with my stupid face and it says it's complicated underneath? Yeah.
Sometimes I think that like wildlife rehab and what you're doing and what a lot of these other groups are doing is like we're just juggling until we can figure out where to put what we're juggling down.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're all doing band-aid work.
That's a really good analogy.
We're just trying to keep the balls in the air until we can figure out where to put them.
Right.
Because there is, you know, the world is such a crappy place. We're trying to wait for, it's like we're waiting for humans to become nice.
Yeah.
And to grow up and mature.
Yeah.
And understand that, like, this isn't my planet, this is our planet.
Yep.
And we should all just take a part in it and watch out for all the other things that are living here.
Yeah.
I feel like all of our groups are just trying to keep that going until we can figure out what to do.
So well said. It's because we care. We just care, and we're going to do everything the best we can. Sometimes the lines get blurred. And I think, look, if I can just tell you from the other side coming here as your ally, just be careful and don't let the lines blur because of your own interest in doing whatever you want to do. You have to really think about, what is this really doing? And when I was talking about that leaf turtle, like, I could just say, this is awesome, this species is endangered and nobody can breed them, and I hatched 29 this year. But that's not the whole story. And I'm not here to be a politician and to tell you what I want you to think, you know. Yeah, just give you the information I can and then let you think. Was there one over here? No? No. I've been rambling. Okay, one here.
What are some next steps that we're obviously all turtle lovers taking this from? What are some next steps that we can do to try to help these animals, whether it's the legal pet trade, the legal pet trade, our local native animals, our invasive animals?
It's a really good question, and I think, Rebecca, right? Yeah. I think I already kind of alluded to it a couple times, a couple of these things, but like, first of all, the fact that we're in this room, holy crap. You guys are superstars. You are legitimately turtle heroes, and it's an honor to be here. I'm so, like, this didn't exist in the past, like, not to this effect. So, first of all, building a community. We're all building a community together. I mentioned we have this Connecticut Turtle Society meeting tomorrow. That's brand new, really exciting. We're just trying to build it. And for years, 20 years, I wanted to have a turtle society, and I thought there's not enough people that care about turtles that would want to come together. Look at this room. There are enough people that care about turtles. We've been getting about 35 people in Connecticut that want to come and just talk about turtles and, you know, hear lectures about turtles. So that's number one, build the community, and then also just keep your head on a swivel, and if you see something, say something, because it's happening right now here and where I am, all in the Northeast, it is happening. we live in a spot that has very desirable turtles, and we'd always talk about, oh, don't let them know where the bog turtles are. No, don't let them know where anything is. There are people that would book a plane to come here and get locality-specific painted turtles. I know that sounds stupid, but they really would. Now, painted turtles are anywhere with a log, so there's not much we can do, but the point is they will come. And, you know, Connecticut was the last state in the Northeast to outlaw the commercial harvest of common snapping turtles. And people came from all over the country to harvest our snapping turtles. So they will come for the common ones too. Yeah.
So just an answer to the previous question and agreeing with you is you have to network. So, I mean, I'm sure as recappers, we get the question all the time. What do I do with this slider? You know, and you can't physically do all of it. You can't breed for conservation, rehab, pets, you know, rehoming. So you have to network. Like, my cell phone is full of turtle people. So when someone comes to me with, what do I do with this slider? I'm texting 5 people. And then someone will find something. And when someone comes to them and, you know, my grandmother had this turtle for 30 years and I don't know what to do with it. You know, so it comes to them with that, they come to me. And I have, you know, eggs from, you know, an uncommon turtle that I'm not familiar with incubating. I'll text Anthony because I'm like, he knows how to incubate common turtles. So, you know,
A lot of them.
so I mean, just connect.
Yeah, I love that. And we talked about that this morning. Like, pick your lane and be good at it, but then also reach out because there are people with different expertise that help put the big picture together. Yeah.
It's a puzzle, we need all the pieces.
We do. We really do. It's a puzzle and we need all the pieces. Love that. Thank you guys. I feel like that's good.